Common Core is the name given to a series of standards that attempt to establish a common curriculum for all schools throughout the nation. The legislative branch of Georgia adopted Common Core in 2010, and since then it has been an area of controversy among politicians and teachers in our community. Most critics of Common Core claim that it represents a federal overreach into what should be the jurisdiction of local governments.
Common Core has tons of meanings to different people, and there's one extreme where Common Core is a word standing for the idea that the federal government should exert complete control over curriculum and instruction and basically control everything that goes on in the classroom.
I think Common Core is a way for having standards in different disciplines. So for me, it's in mathematics, where everybody's trying to teach the same things, the same students, or to different students, and a way of trying to standardize education in the United States.
So how is Common Core perceived in our community? Well, most agree that the main issue of Common Core is not necessarily tied to the curriculum it promotes.
So I think the standards being used today, for the most part, are good. But in general, they're working. The teachers like them. We've had a survey of teachers that 2/3 of Georgia teachers support them.
87% of the standards that were already in place in Georgia are replicated in Common Core.
Now that being said, the other part of Common Core, which is the idea that the federal government or somebody centralized should control everything that goes on in the classroom and even control what the state does, I totally oppose that.
Important to set a standard, to set a bar that young people ought to meet to be able to move on to the next level. But there also needs to be some significant local involvement so that everybody doesn't learn the same way. All of you don't learn the same way. And some people need a little more, some people need a little less. Only parents and teachers in local communities that can know that. Because the federal government can't know you.
There are some good things about Common Core in the math. I really like the way that Common Core is giving students opportunities to delve deeper into topics, to think a little bit more broadly. But I also think we run a little bit of risk when we try to standardize things too much, because I think it's important for us to take a look and evaluate things that may or may not be working as we go, and when it's an entire country who's working off this same program, it would be difficult to make change when things are not working.
Opinions about Common Core vary widely in almost every community. It is often met with both positive reactions and negative backlash.
It wasn't until No Child Left Behind during the Bush administration that we really saw regular testing of students on a regular basis. And we've seen bipartisan support of that through the Obama administration and Race to the Top. And now, in the last few years, we've started to see a crescendo of a backlash. And a lot of that is tied to Common Core state standards.
Almost all the opponents to Common Core are Republicans. Republican objections are primarily around keeping the federal government out of the education, out of the classroom. Whereas the Democrats, as a general rule, are for more government and for more federal control and programs, so they have no problem with the federal government having a heavy role, so to speak, in how those programs work.
So what can be done to change Common Core for the better?
What they ought to do is really consider at a high level, what are the minimum competencies that we want our kids to know and be able to do to be college and career ready, and then let each of the states decide how to get there.
Most members of our community just want the standards to stop changing so rapidly and irregularly.
Make a decision on Common Core.
You know, teachers are in the classroom every day trying to teach. It is a burden on them to change.
This is my 4th year teaching, and this is the 3rd different curriculum that I've taught in math. I feel like I can teach in whatever way you want me to. I want you to stop changing it.
Changing the standards completely again would cost a lot of money.
So what does Common Core hope to achieve?
The goal of Common Core as architects, a lot of it was to get more problem solving into the thinking. A good goal of it was that there was at least a set of standards that were the same across this country, and that also allow us to be able to compare states.
So has it achieved these goals while being beneficial to student learning? The answer to this question is a critical one to understanding how this policy has affected our state. However, it may not yet be possible to determine if Common Core has succeeded in its goals.
Over the long term, a move to curriculum which is more problem-solving will benefit you. The jury's still out about whether the current Common Core is going to pass that test. It's only been around for a few years. It's way too early to be able to say.
Can Common Core result in an increase in student learning and long-term success?
I think Common Core or any set of standards could achieve that. And the state of Georgia has just begun to move along that path. And it takes time. And what the state needs to do is realize that you just can't turn a gigantic ship around in a matter of 1 year.
There are still many things about Common Core that have yet to be determined. Its overall impact will take years to ascertain in Georgia. In the meantime, policymakers and politicians will continue to edit the educational standards in an attempt to make our country better. It is not yet clear if these changes will actually result in long-term benefit, but one thing is certain: this will continue to be an area of controversy.
So I think state by state, we're going to continue to have this sort of push-pull between how standardized are we going to be with standards versus, how much leeway are we going to allow.
The world of education is changing right before our eyes. One can only wonder where this change will lead our country.
To decrease the burden on Mr. Wallace. Mr. Wallace, Mr. Wallace, Mr. Wallace, Mr. Wallace, 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 Mr. Wallace, Mr. Wallace, decrease the burden on Mr. Wallace.